What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another movie review, and today we are talking about 2025's highest to lowest, and this is, I believe, a Kurosawa remake, reimagining type of thing. And you know, obviously a Kurosawa legendary director, but he had made this highest to lowest film in the past, and now it's getting kind of remade into this New York film with Denzel Washington. ASAP Rocky's in there, which is just awesome. Jeffrey Wright's in there. I thought he was great. It's kind of about like their kids, but like it's not too big a cast in this movie, really. You know, it's got Mayhem in there. He's playing like a cop. He looks terrible. He's been aging like milk. Rick Fox was in there, you know, legendary basketball player, former NBA player for the Lakers. There was a lot of Celtics, Lakers, Celtics, Knicks. You know, there's a lot of Boston hate in this film, Spike Lee. For somebody that hates on the Boston sports so much, your teams better be winning. Like last year, Spike, you guys celebrated like you guys won the NBA championship just because you beat Jason Tatum when he blew out his Achilles. So you didn't even really beat him, his Achilles beat him. And then you guys beat the Celtics, and then we're like, we're going to win the NBA championship, and then lost. So you guys need to get your priorities straight. Do you want to beat us, or do you want to win championships? Because we're too busy thinking about championships to think about how shitty New York is. That's just the Boston take in me, but you know, after seeing this movie, I was really heated. I was like, God damn it, Spike, how are you gonna hate on Boston so much? And then, you know, have this be, you know, I get he's a New York guy, he's very much so a Knicks fan and whatever. And, you know, but like, you got Denzel saying all these hateful lines. Motherfucker, he filmed The Equalizer over here in Boston, didn't he? You know, like, you know, Boston ain't the problem. New York Knicks are the fucking problem. The Yankees are the problem. Boston ain't got the problem. You know, like, although we hate New York just as much as they hate us. So I guess that New York-Boston rivalry will be a rivalry for all of history and from the past and deep into the future, and I hope that continues. You know, even just a few years back, that Red Sox pitcher, something Kelly, Joe Kelly or something like that, fighting a Yankee charging the mound. Like, that stuff doesn't really happen anymore, but I grew up on Pedro Martinez, you know, beating up Zimmerman or whoever the general manager of the Yankees was. Like, oh, what a different era, you know, like Jeter, Rodriguez, A-Rod versus Pedro, Manny, friggin' Johnny Damon, David Ortiz, Big Papi, right? Like, sports rivalries just don't happen like that anymore. You know, everybody seems like they're buddies. We grew up, there was a fire, there was rivalry on the court. You know, even Celtics Lakers with Kobe Bryant, like, there isn't a rivalry like there used to be, and there really needs to be. You know, play with some hometown pride. You know, like if your team is facing a rivalry team, you better bring the heat, son. You know, but back to Spike Lee's movie, and this I believe is his 69th film that he's directed, which nice. But you know, Spike Lee's one of those directors. I love his work whenever I do see it. Jeffrey Wright, I love his work. Denzel Washington, let's be real, is maybe one of, if not the best actor of my generation that I've witnessed. You know, like my entire life he's delivered role after role and character after character. I mean, remember the Titans? Like, come on. Fucking Denzel Washington is the GOAT when it comes to just being an absolute banger of an actor. You know, anything he's been in. American Gangster. He most recently Gladiator 2. He ate that shit up. Training Day. The Equalizer. Malcolm X. Inside Man. You know, like this man, Fences, Book of Eli, like, you know, whether he's producing or acting, he's just so good. And now we have things like The Piano Lesson with his son, John David Washington, starring in, and he's become one of these newer generation actors that's just really freaking good and just comes to the table prepared. Like his movie The Creator a couple years ago I really liked, and Malcolm and Marie he was really good in. Amsterdam he was good in, but that movie wasn't that great. I mean, Christopher Nolan's Tenet, I've heard, was great, but confusing, and I think I saw it back in 2020, but it was so confusing that I need to see it again. You know what I mean? Those type of things. But like The Piano Lesson was starring one of his sons, directed by his other son, Malcolm, right? Like, Denzel Washington has now surpassed just being an actor, right? Like his kids are now becoming great actors and great filmmakers, and Denzel's, you know, getting up there in age, but apparently he's been busy. He's doing things like Highest to Lowest. He's got a couple other films he wants to do, and he wants to step behind the camera and start directing a little bit more. And it's a shame that, you know, a man like Denzel Washington is so good on camera for him to be like, no, I want to step behind camera. We're all like, no, we want to see you in front of it. But, you know, I would also be very curious to see what a man like Denzel Washington could do behind the camera, you know, as a writer or as a director rather than an actor. Because I find that also actors turn directors kind of know how to communicate with their actors maybe better than just somebody that directed did, because they've been in those shoes and they know what an actor wants to hear from a director. So when that actor then turns director and is able to give those notes to actors and know what actors need to hear, it ends up working out very good, you know. Like most recently, like an actress turned director but still an actress, Zoe Kravitz, would Blink Twice, you know, like it was just one of the movies that popped into my head when I said that. It was really good last year, and she was a debut director. Like a debut directorial film shouldn't have been that good, and that movie was just really good. It had a clear vision, and you could tell that like the actors were able to do some of their best work, because I think Zoe knew what she wanted from the script and from the, you know, the shots, but also like was able to tell the actors specific notes, or was just able to let them play, and they were able to feel comfortable on that set, because you could just feel it through Noemi Aki and everybody else in that cast. Like everyone was just comfortable, and that's kind of how this film felt to me. Like, you know, Jeffrey Wright, as much as it was like a, you know, stressful, hey, they got my son, it's a, you know, it's a hostage situation, they're trying to hold him ransom for some money, you know, and like that type of shit, and it's not necessarily like a fun, you know, easy vibe type of movie. You know, you're like, there's like tension, there's stress, there's, you know, you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen type of shit. Like, I hope nothing bad happens to these kids. But like as soon as like Denzel ends up finding and meeting A$AP Rocky's character, then like the movie really starts to settle into like, oh, this is good. Like I know it took a while to get here, but as soon as they were across from each other in that studio and shit talking each other and going back and forth bar for bar in the little chase sequence, like I thought it was really good. You know, it could have been better, but I think first time through I really did like it. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, God, I need to see this again. I don't know if I like it maybe a little bit less than I think, but at the current moment it is sitting at a 4 out of 5 stars, about an 8 out of 10. But now the more I'm thinking about it, it might be more like a 7, 7.5, maybe even closer to a 6 in my mind. And I just watched this last night, so I'm only about 24 hours, maybe even less, only about 12 hours since seeing it. And I don't know, something about it. I liked it. I think I need to see it again to know if I really liked it, but I think it might just be a pacing thing, but it's also like a, you know, a little bit over 2 hour movie, 2 hour 10 movie, and I think at the very least, you know, it's one of those movies that ends pretty satisfyingly, where like you get to the point in the movie where like you feel the climactic ending, and then between Ryan Coogler and Spike Lee, the only 2 films I've seen this year that really gave me a satisfying ending, where I sat there and went, okay, I don't need a sequel. I'm not going to be, you know, after the fact, oh, I didn't get enough, I kind of want a sequel to that. Like, I don't think there will be a Highest to Lowest 2. But, you know, maybe there could be if somebody really wanted to, but if they wanted just to make it a one and done film with a satisfying ending, it has it, you know, like it comes full circle, and you know, and it doesn't end right where you want it to end. It gives you just that little bit more, and that's kind of what Ryan Coogler's Sinners did. You know, like it had a great satisfying ending where you would have like been like, yeah, if it ended right here, that's great, but I'm definitely gonna want to see Denzel and these characters a little bit more. Like, you know, I wanted to know maybe what happened after the fact. Both directors gave you that little bit, you know, it's only about 5-10 minutes more, but you know, that little bit more of like, well, what did they do after this? And like, you know, a little bit of spoilers, but like in Sinners, you know, what is his name? Sammy ends up seeing his cousin, and I'm trying to say it without spoiling as much as possible, but Sammy gets to see his cousin and his girl one last time after thinking that they weren't alive still. And then, you know, Denzel ends up taking his son's advice and meeting the girl and seeing if she can really sing. And, you know, during the movie you were like, does the son just have a crush on her, or is she actually talented? And by the end of the movie we get to, you know, figure out that she is really talented. It's not just a crush, and that she's really talented, and that she's going to be like this next big star. And this is what he's doing next, you know, and he's, you know, closed the stacking hits. And I thought it was really good, and it came to a satisfactory ending for me. And I don't think movies do that enough these days. You know, like, movies seem to leave it too open-ended to be maybe explored in the future, which I like that stuff too, but you gotta leave it open-ended but also give a satisfactory ending. You know, like, if you want to leave room for a sequel, that's great, but you gotta end the movie where you're at. You can't just leave a movie not ended and then just leave it so open that people are like, what the fuck? Like, I need that next movie to make this first movie better. You know what I mean? Like, a movie should be altogether fine by itself, and then if there's a sequel after it, it makes it better, not like it needs it, you know, like it just enhances it. But that's my thoughts on sequels and movies today, and how they should end satisfactory. And comment below if you thought the same thing. Did you get to the ending of Highest to Lowest and think, I'm satisfied, I thought this was a good movie? And Spike Lee, Denzel, A$AP Rocky, I thought it was all good all the way around. I thought it was really well done. And this is now streaming on Apple TV+. It came out in theaters back in August 15th for some select theaters, but is now streaming on Apple TV+ since September 5th. So I was a little bit late to it, but still really good, and it was something I wanted to see. A Spike Lee joint, Denzel Washington. All money ain't good money, you know, like in the conversations between Denzel and Jeffrey Wright, like, they're two of my favorite actors today right now. Jeffrey Wright as Jim Gordon in The Batman. I can't wait to see him in the Batman sequel, but I don't know what Denzel's going to be up to next, but I'm sure it's going to be good, and I can't wait. And Spike Lee, I really like your work, but screw the Knicks. And that's it for me, y'all. I will see you beautiful people in the next one. If you want to subscribe, comment down below. Those are the best ways to support the channel. And if you want to make sure you don't miss future movie reviews and you get the notifications when those come out, make sure you hit that bell and you'll get those notifications the next time I drop a movie review or another video comes out on the channel. But that's it for me, y'all. My name's Big Cam, 2 G's in that big, all over any of my social medias. Links for those down in the description below if you want to follow me anywhere else. But that's it for me, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!